Antetokounmpo, who many people, I being one of them, believe is the best player in the world. Where are you at on that, by the way?
Yeah, I don't see any argument. You know?
Okay, cool.
I would love to argue with you, but I don't see any argument.
I agree, but everyone doesn't agree. And Andre Iguodala, who is one of the most respected players in the league.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I will say this. I believe, Rob G, correct me if I'm wrong, do you remember, didn't Andre Iguodala say Kyrie Irving was one of the 20 best players ever?
That is correct.
Yeah.
Oh, well,
okay. So just for some context.
Yeah.
Just for some context. He said that Rasheed Wallace. Well, I'll just let him say it. Here's what he said about Rasheed Wallace and Giannis Antetokounmpo. Here.
Rasheed Wallace,
awesome player.
Mm-hmm. Rasheed Wallace.
Yep.
Probably could have been top 5 player in the league for a 10-year stretch.
Mm-hmm.
He just chose. I'll do my thing over here.
Right.
He was shooting threes from half court. No, he was shooting half court shots, left-handed and right-handed.
Yeah.
If Rasheed Wallace played in modern day basketball today, if he played in our league today, he'll be the top 5 player in the league.
I don't think
he'd be better than Giannis, and I love Giannis.
Go ahead. I'll let you go first.
Is he basing that purely on Rasheed Wallace's ability to shoot threes as a big?
It sounded like it, but
yeah, because
Rasheed was actually a career 33% shooter from three.
Yeah, like he could, of course, and he was one of those stretch fours that we saw very rarely
Right.
in that time.
At that time, right.
Right? That was just like, you can't leave him open out there. But to say that Rasheed Wallace, who was a good player, dynamic player,
Yep.
was better than Giannis Antetokounmpo and everything he does in a game, his mobility, his ability to get to the bucket, his ability to play defense on anybody, I just don't see the correlation. I don't see that. And,
I'm with you. Go ahead.
And when you look at Giannis and what he can do offensively and defensively, he's dominant at both.
Right.
And there are very few players in the history of our league, especially in today's NBA, who can be dominant at both. You just don't see a lot of that anymore. That's one of the things that made LeBron so great. Kobe, the all-time GOAT, Michael Jordan. It was about both ends of the court. And guys now like to save themselves.
Yes.
Right? I'm going to score 40. But don't expect me to be
Donovan Mitchell, who we just talked about.
Right.
Not a good defender.
Don't expect me to rotate and, block up shot and you see someone like Giannis who is in constant motion the entire game. Just watch him play. He is up and down the whole game. There are very few times where he's standing off in the corner or he's just hanging out under the rim. And so Rasheed Wallace never had to be on like that. The offense never had to go through him like that in terms of bringing the ball up the court,
no,
setting the offense, right? Attacking. That wasn't part of. So you can't even. Could he have done that? We don't know.
Well, this is the only thing that Andre Iguodala could have said that would have made sense, kind of related to what he said, is had Rasheed Wallace grown up in today's era, I think he would have developed the skills to be better than Giannis. If you say that, maybe.
Then it's okay. I can see that.
But to say Rasheed Wallace as he was, and to your point, Rasheed was a great player, a 4-time All-Star.
Mm-hmm.
And to throw up, he was shooting, 3-pointers left-handed from half court. Yeah, in the pregame.
Yeah, you don't want to make a living. You're not about to do that.
That was a regular stop.
You're not coming across half court and shooting a three with your left. No.
And to your point, Rasheed was at that time a stretch 4. And I used to say about Rasheed, I like that he's got the ability to step out and hit the 3 and keep the defense honest. But I also said this, but he ain't Dirk Nowitzki.
No.
I said he needs to be on the block more. Rasheed was out there a little too much for my liking because he wasn't this tremendous shooter. He was a good shooter from three. But like I said, 33% for his career. The only 7-footer at that time I didn't mind being perimeter oriented was Dirk. Because he was just a natural born shooter or had developed it coming up as a kid. And Rasheed's the other thing about Rasheed. And gotta give Giannis credit. Giannis has taken up the challenge of being the man. And so much so that he didn't even leave Milwaukee to join a super team. He stayed there, won a championship without a second superstar. And I know Rasheed was as tough as they come. So I'm not going to say he didn't take up the challenge. But Rasheed had number one talent, but was more of a guy that wanted to blend in. He didn't want to have to carry the team every night deep into the playoffs and win a championship. Because when he was the number one guy, he was the number one guy in Portland. And they were a pretty good team. They were a good team. But they couldn't get over the hump. And the thing that made Rasheed fit in so well with Detroit and win championships with them and make a couple of all-star teams was that when he went there, Ephraim, he blended right in like a role player. He didn't mind just having a role, right? And that's what made it work. He never averaged he averaged 15 points one time in Detroit. Every other year was under 15 points, 12 points, 13, 14 points a game. He had been a 19-point scorer in Portland. And that mentality, and I give him credit, is similar to Mark Aguirre, to be honest, right?
Yeah.
Aguirre did the same thing when he went to Detroit. So I'm not ripping Sheed for it, but it also says Giannis would not do that because Giannis wants to be that guy, that number one guy, and has that mentality. And so Iggy sometimes, some of the stuff, I'm sorry, Kyrie's the top 20 player of all time, and Rasheed would be better than Giannis?
Look,
how? What? He don't handle the ball like Giannis. He shoots it better. That's it.
And he never was allowed to handle the ball like Giannis for a reason.
There you go.
Like for a reason. And when you just look at pure numbers, because
rebound like him, pass like him.
Numbers don't lie, right? And if you look at playoff averages, Giannis 27 points a game, 12 rebounds, 5 assists. Rasheed Wallace is 13, 6, and 1.
And don't tell me it's because, Detroit was balanced. Well, a lot of that's Portland, too.
Right? Like, so Rasheed, I'm not taking anything away from Rasheed Wallace.
Right.
But to say out loud that he's better than Giannis.
Right.
I don't know how. What's the closest Rasheed Wallace got to MVP voting? You
mentioned numbers, Ephraim. When he was in Portland, Rasheed, as the man, in 98 in the playoffs, he averaged 4.8 rebounds. 99, 4.8 rebounds. 2000, 6.4 rebounds. Mm-hmm. And Giannis is the best rebounder in the NBA. And she was 6'10", and that's because he was outside a lot. But I'm just saying, you're right. But it leads to a bigger issue. And it seems to be somewhat of a disrespecting of Giannis Antetokounmpo. JJ Redick, you might remember a few months ago, had his podcast, had Joel Embiid on, and said Giannis wasn't a top 3 player.
That's just
in
hate.
The league.
That's just hate, man. That's just hate.
The Athletic did a survey of former players after Milwaukee won the championship in 2020. The player said Giannis was the third best guy in the league after a historic finals performance. Historic. You remember how great he was in those finals against Phoenix? Mm-hmm. They had Kevin Durant number 1, who Giannis had beaten in the playoffs. LeBron James 2, and then Giannis number 3. I want to ask you, I got a theory, and I talked with Rob G about this, but I want to hear yours. Do you think there's a little bit of a disrespect for Giannis, and why among players?
I do. Number one, Giannis is not from here.
So you think that factors in?
Right? People don't respect Jokic either. But Jokic.
But Luka, although some people a little subtle hate on you, Luka too.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is the last 4 MVPs or the last 4 years of MVPs, the guys aren't from this country.
Right.
Like NBA, well, it started here, right? The basketball started here, and so there is a bit of he good, but he didn't grow up in the AAU circuit here. All of these things,
playing in this,
right? All of these things matter when guys are evaluating other guys.